Hello folks, we're back for another round of the £1,000 used car game, and in this one we've got some stonkers, or are they stinkers? You decide. So as you know folks, we pretend we've got £1,000 to spend and we go on to Tinternet to see what we would buy with that £1,000. I always look for cars sort of around or under 100,000 miles, under hopefully, but if it's 105 or something I'm not going to get too upset. And look for something that's got current MOT and no absolutely hideous faults, right? And that's about it. Apart from that, anything goes. Has to be something that you could see yourself driving around in for maybe 6 months or a year, and that hopefully wouldn't be too unreliable. And if it were, hopefully it's not going to cost you the earth to put it right. If you've seen one of these before, you probably know what to expect. But let's start with this one. So this is the Toyota Auris 2008 model. 08 plate, 1.6 VVTi Spirit 5-door. You don't know how many times it's taken me to say that. 1.6 VVTi. And what do we know about this one? So it's 1.6 manual, 100,000 miles on the clock. MOT until December and damage to back bumper as seen in pictures, otherwise drives fine. Silver 5+ owners. So let's have a look at that back bumper, shall we? Alright, so that's had a knock there, and that's all distorted, isn't it? So I guess the easiest way to deal with that is not to repair it, but just to get another bumper from a scrapyard. The thing to make sure is that underneath nothing's been pushed in, and that I guess an easy way to sort of check for that is to make sure that the boot opens without fault, and then just have a look under the carpet and you'll see if there's any damage that's come through there. And also just get underneath the car and have a look and see if anything appears to have been pushed in. If it hasn't, a silver Toyota Auris is not going to be a difficult thing to find a bumper for in a scrapyard. So you probably get one in the right colour for, I don't know, a couple £100. That's that dealt with. Let's have a look at the rest of the car and see if anything stands out. So shut lines look okay. There's a little dent there, but I don't think anyone's going to be too worried about that on a car for this kind of cost. Yeah, the bumper just needs replacing, doesn't it? Interior looks alright. Could obviously do with the clean, and it's got the wrong car mats in, and they're the wrong way round by the looks of it, which is interesting. Guys, just a super quick reminder to give the video a quick thumbs up, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. Please, thanks. And needs a good interior valet as well, doesn't it? Because it's pretty mucky in there. 103,000 miles. Why not say that on the ad instead of 100? We're not that daft. No mention of service history or anything, so that rings a bit of an alarm bell. You look at £250 a year tax, 39.8 is the combined MPG. So you'd want to get that car properly looked over. There's no service history, which is not brilliant, but it's a £1,000 car, so are you realistically going to get it? I'm just enjoying a coffee here. Some of you have bought me a coffee, and thanks very much for those that have. There is a link in the description for this video and on my website notaguru.co.uk if you'd like to be lovely and buy me a coffee. Thanks. Okay, so now let's move on to this one. Now this one appears to have been owned by a Gavin or a Kevin or maybe a Jordan, but look at the wheels on that bad boy. Wow. Okay, so they haven't bothered to sort of empty the car out before taking the pictures, which is great. And it needs a good clean, as you can see. But it's not terrible otherwise. Might need a new number plate there as well, because that one looks pretty faded to me. But that's not an expensive thing to do. So this Citroen C2 VTS, it handles and drives really well and has recent MOT. Low mileage for its age and a great runner. Black 3 owners. No mention of service history so far. Anything in there? No mention of service history. 1.6 litre in that little car. We got any performance figures on it? 0-60 and 8.3. Insurance group 15. Tax is £210 a year. 41 MPG. So, it's a small car and it's obviously fairly spicy. Look, it's got the old Tesco shopping trolley spoiler on the back. But it's quite a spicy little car. Whether you love or hate those wheels, I guess, is down to your personal preference. But if you hated them that dramatically, you could get the colour changed. Although you'd probably put about 20% of the value of the car on to do that. But yeah, a grand for that, 45,000 miles, 44,000 miles, fairly low mileage if it is what it appears to be. It's probably not horrendous. All right, what else have we got here? Right, 2004, 54 plate, 1.6, 16 valve SX Seat Leon. Let's have a look at this one. 12 months MOT, 76,000 miles, full service history. All right. So this is one you could possibly consider as something that might get you down the road for a little while without any horrendous bills or reliability issues. So let's have a look at this. So 0 to 60 in 10.9 seconds. This is not exactly a quick car, but it's not a milk float either. Insurance group 12, 250 quid a year tax, combined MPG of 40. Full service history. And I mean, on the face of these pictures, it appears to be quite a nice example. I mean, the interior wise, they're fairly basic, but it's £1,000 car. You know, what do you expect for a grand? That looks really tidy, doesn't it? I mean, if someone told you that car was £2,500 or something, you wouldn't sort of, you know, drop your jaw in amazement and think, oh God, how much? That looks like a decent car for a grand, but you know, looks can be deceiving, can't they? I'm actually really athletic, I just don't look like it. The vehicle's had 3 registered owners, okay. HPI clear, so that's good. Alright, that one's okay. We like that one, we think. As always, get it all properly checked out. It does say here that it's just passed the MOT without any issues. So let's have a look at the, and it's had 4 brand new 16-inch tyres with alloys. What? New brake disc, brake spelt incorrectly. Pads a few months ago, done at 61,000, genuine mileage. Right, let's have a look at the MOT. So I haven't gone on to some magic site here that no one has access to. If you've watched my used car buying advice video, all you need to do is go into Mot History Check. Just Google that, Mot History Check, and it takes you to this government page. And you can go in and see the previous MOTs. So this got a pass on 15th September, offside front suspension arm pin or bush worn, but not resulting in excessive movement. Alright, so that's just an advisory on it. So it's worn, but it's not resulting in excessive movement, but that means it might come up next year. So that might be something you can use to negotiate with. Either they could get that replaced, or you could maybe knock 100 quid off the price and go and get it done yourself. So if we go back to the previous year, you can see it had quite a lot of advisories, and there's a suggestion here that all this stuff's been dealt with. So they mention new discs and pads, so that's obviously been dealt with. Brake caliper, handbrake lever not fully returning, that's probably been dealt with as well. So we've got to think that probably a lot of these have been dealt with, as they haven't shown up on the new MOT. However, not all MOT test centres are equal, and there have been known to be 1 or 2 bent ones in the past. So, you know, feel free to take a mobile mechanic along and just get these things checked out. But you've got a nice list of things to have a look at, haven't you? Which is the beauty of going on to this MOT history thing. And this goes for any used car. Always do this, because you've got an immediate checklist of things that you might not have thought about. Would you have thought when driving the car, I wonder if the near side front track rod end dust cover is starting to crack or deteriorate slightly? Had you not have seen this? No. Right, 2004 Saab 9.5 2-litre T-Vector. I love a Saab, never had one. I just think they're good looking cars, although I don't think we need the dog paw prints on it, do we, really? Come on. Oh, I wonder if that thumb's included in the price of the car. So there's a little dent there we can see. I'm guessing those alloys have had not the easiest life. 91,800 miles. I mean, I've seen better repairs, if I'm completely honest. You may disagree, but I have seen better repair work done than that. And it's just what's underneath that. It looks like it's probably just lacquer peel or something, and it's definitely had a scuff there as well. But it's not necessarily rust. It might be lacquer peel. By the way, to get that done properly would probably cost you about 150 quid. if it was something that bothered you on a car of this kind of price. So it's 2 litre automatic, 91,000 miles. It's just up the road from me in Poole. Some service history, 2 keys, radio requires a new code, MOT due in June next year, no advisories, £1,000, 3 previous owners. Alright, well, it's probably quite an honest little car. I mean, they haven't massively tried to hide anything. I mean, obviously there's been a bit of a botched repair done there. It's probably, the owner's probably done that with the rattle can, but they're pointing it out to you. The alloys are pretty beaten up, as I sort of guessed. So that might be quite an honest little car that you could maybe go and polish a few pounds into. And these old Saabs, they are getting quite rare now, really. Not quite rare, but you don't see that many of them anymore. You never know, that might be a modern classic in time to come. And it may be that this one's a little diamond in the rough that you could spend £400 or £500 on and, you know, get it running well, looking good, and keeping you on the road for a few years. An automatic of this age and with that many miles on, if there's not service history to say that that gearbox has had a recent service, you want to get an automatic gearbox service done on it. Basically change the oil and everything, and just getting an automatic gearbox can be the difference between it lasting for another 10 years or it going bang and costing you a few grand to replace. So strongly recommend getting an automatic gearbox service done on that car if you were to look at it, or a similar one. Please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Right, 2009 Vauxhall Astra, and this is a 1.6 Active Plus 5-door. What do we know about this one? 0 to 60 10.9, 210 quid a year tax, combined 43.5 mpg. So let's have a look at this. Right, so it's got 2 keys, it's got some invoices, though that one's just for parts. It's got the MOT, so it's got a service book there, but, you know, no suggestion of any stamps in it at this stage. The alloys look like they're really beaten up, actually. They're filthy, but I think that front rim there is fairly beaten. But body-wise, it looks good, and the panel gaps look alright. Is that a suggestion of a mark there, or I think it's a reflection, actually. Well, yeah, it looks quite tidy, in fairness. So this one's done 91,670 miles. And what do we know about it? Body and interior is in good condition for its age. Very good tyre tread. Multifunction trip computer, air conditioning, SRI alloys. Car was fully serviced earlier this year. New brake pads and discs have been fitted. MOT's January 2022. Full service history and spare key included. First come, first served. Please note this car is for sale, 1,100 quid, £1,000. Alright, so they've obviously dropped the price since they did the original ad and just haven't changed the text. So, I mean, you could do a lot worse than that for £1,000, couldn't you? Really? If, obviously, I'll always caveat all this with if it's what it appears to be and if it's as good as it appears to be. I mean, you could probably spend 50 quid a wheel sorting the alloy wheels out if the appearance of them bothered you on a £1,000 car. Maybe spend 100 quid getting it checked over properly before you buy it. But, you know, that's the sort of car where you could get a few years motoring out of it fairly cheap. If something does go wrong, it's not going to be massively expensive. With all these cars, by the way, always Google common faults for that particular model. So I would just Google Vauxhall Astra 1.6 petrol common faults, and you'd probably find a list of them comes up, and you'd go for the whichever year band, model year band yours is in. But that's a good bit of advice generally, really. Right, 2006 Honda Jazz. It's the 1.4i DSi SE. 87,700 miles, part service history, 13 seconds to 60, and 155 quid a year tax, insurance group 14, 48.7 mpg. Now my late father had one of these, and as do many men of his age, which he was 72 when he passed away. But yeah, they're very sort of popular with the Silver Surfers, aren't they? the Honda Jazz. They're massively practical. It was amazing how much stuff he used to get into his, to be honest. And the back seats are pretty funky, so you can do all kinds of weird and wonderful things with the back seats and grab yourself a ton of extra space. There you go. So you can do them that way, you can tilt them down the other way, and you can get a ton of stuff in that car. And they're really quite spacious anyway. To be fair, like, I know they're old granny cars and all the rest of it, and you know, I'm trying to skate around it, but they are old granny cars. But they're very, very practical little cars, and they're Hondas, you know. What's not to like, really? Okay, so 1.4 petrol, 87,500 miles, £1,000. £1,000. Part service history, so you want to look into that. What does part service history mean? When did it have the services? Were they done recently? How often has it been serviced? Has it had all the main things done? It says here that it needs, the aircon needs a gas recharge. Aircon needs a gas recharge can also mean aircon's kaput and needs a new condenser. So bear that in mind, because a condenser on one of these fitted and everything else is probably not far off £1,000, or maybe the wrong side of £1,000, where a regas is probably 50, 60 quid. And peeling on the wing mirror stems, let's have a look at that. So probably the paint's probably come off. This is the wing mirror stem, the bit just under the glass section. There you go, the paint's completely gone on that side. And it looks all right on that side. So the easiest way to do that, you'd have two options if that really bothered you. You could either rattle can it, if you were confident doing that, or you could get those tiny little bits wrapped with some black material or something. You know, something that's not going to stand out, it's black or silver or something, so it just kind of blends in a little bit and they both look the same. And it cost you next to nothing. If you went to a place that does car wrapping, they'd have a bit of spare black material floating around, and they'd probably do it for you for 50 quid or something. But if it doesn't bother you, leave it well alone. But it looks a tidy little car, that one. Right, 2003 Mercedes-Benz C-Class. And this is the coupe, and it's the C320 SE, 3.2 litre petrol, 100,000 miles, registered March 2003, excellent drive, beautiful interior, carefully maintained, HPI cleared, warranted mileage, any inspection welcome. Okay. So look, right, those headlights are cloudier than a cloudy thing on a cloudy day in Cloudland. That is ridiculous. I mean, why wouldn't you just buff those up? They will probably clear up really, really nicely with a little, you can get headlight refurb kits, and certainly if you've got a polishing wheel as well, you could get those back really, really nice, usually. Some people even do it with bicarbonate of soda toothpaste, but to be honest, you get a really good result with the kits, and they're not massively expensive. It's got nice big black alloys on, but they look like they've been curbed to within an inch of their life. And interior wise, it looks alright, doesn't it? It looks quite nice, to be fair. 100,000 miles, so there's no actual, there's no accurate kind of mileage on it. Now let's have a look at this. 3.4 the seller has. Shambles. First of all, the gentleman, if he can be called that, had the worst customer service skills I've come across in all my adult life of searching a car to buy. How this man keeps his business open is beyond me. Poor condition bodywork, one car didn't even have a key to open it with. Then how'd you start it? Honestly, I wouldn't even go and use their toilet even if I was desperate. An absolute shambles. The owner's not a people person. Worst car looking experience ever. That guy's saying it's basically a junkyard. Awful. I called in advance and asked if a deal could be done. He told me to come down and see the car. Arrived to a horrible plot. The cars were awful. The guys were horrible. Car had been described as a beautiful interior. The car was disgusting. Alright. Maybe forget about that one. Right. Now this is another one which I put up there probably with the Astra and the Seat as cars that are probably very realistic cars that you could pick up and run fairly cheaply and hopefully give you somewhat trouble-free motoring, and if you did have any problems with it, it's going to be fairly cheap to put right. So this is a 2005 Focus, it's 1.8 16 valve gear, Manual gearbox, petrol. It says 5-door. Last of these shapes owned by a lady from Sutton Coldfield from new. Comes with full service history. Last serviced at 17/9/2020. Will be sold with a new 12 months MOT. Comes with all the gear extras, air conditioning, fully working. Alright, so that sounds good. Insurance group 15, 275 quid a year, tax 37 combined MPG. Let's have a look at the car. This looks sort of better than it should for £1,000, doesn't it? 83,000 miles on it. Shut lines look alright. Interior looks alright. And the Mark 1 Focus is still regarded by many as probably the best one they made. That looks very, very tidy, that car. For £1,000. Do you know what I mean? With a brand new MOT on it and full service history. That's very, very good. Again, look up the common faults. Check the service history. Maybe get a mechanic to look the car over. But you can't really go too far wrong at that one, on that one for £1,000. Quite nice alloys on that as well. And they look absolutely pucker from what I can make out in these pictures. Although obviously some of them are a little way away from the camera, they look to be in very, very good condition. That's a really nice car for £1,000, isn't it? Nice. That's it for that one, guys. Please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, look in the video description and there are lots of ways you can support the channel. So you can buy me a coffee, you can sign up for the free trial on Readly, which is like Netflix for magazines. You may have seen adverts in my other videos for that. But basically, if you sign up for that free trial, you don't pay a thing. If you don't like it after a couple of days or a couple of weeks, you cancel it. It doesn't cost you a thing. I still get paid. It still supports the channel. So please have a look at that Readly trial. I genuinely have used that app now for about 3 months and I absolutely love it. It's brilliant. You've got all the magazines and newspapers at your fingertips. Aside from that, just keep watching the videos and keep supporting the channel. Follow me on the socials, keep liking, sharing things with your friends. Honestly, it all makes a difference and it's all greatly appreciated. Thanks very much. See you next time.